by Dallas, make it hurt.
So we are starting. I wanted to first and foremost thank the three of you guys for being involved on this conversation. I'm going to try to keep everything to about 40 minutes to an hour just so I don't waste anyone's time. I know everybody is probably extremely busy and it's also Friday and we're just wanting to go and do other things. But I wanted to bring everyone in to have a conversation about basically the trials and tribulations of being a Black person in the music industry, seeing as we are all Black people working in the music industry. And I want to start first and foremost by letting everyone introduce themselves. So let's go ladies first. What is your name, your occupation, and where do you work?
Should I go first?
Yes, yeah, Sarah.
Am I the only female on here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My name is Sarah McCann. I know this lovely gentleman because he came in for an interview to work for a company that I work with called Wide Eyed Entertainment. I'm a publisher and manager. I've been in music 15 years. Yeah, that's what's up.
Awesome. Anthony, what about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Anthony. You and I, of course, go very, very far back, so high school days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I entered this conversation as a member of the film and TV sync team at Atlantic Records, where I've been for almost 2 years now here in LA.
Dope. Dre, what about yourself?
My name is Dre. I'm a label service specialist at Warner Music Group. Did I answer everything?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, y'all. I'm getting my hair braided at the moment, so.
You know what? That matches perfectly for the conversation. That is a very Black thing to currently be doing.
I'm also let me see. How's it going?
Yeah.
I go over to Tommy's often and he's always getting his hair done. And I just sit there and we have conversations and we
Well, awesome. So I'm gonna get the ball rolling with the very first question. And the first thing I want to ask you all, starting again, ladies first. So Sarah, you will be going first. But as a Black person working within the music industry, what's your experience been so far? I know you and me have gotten a chance to talk a lot about our experiences, especially me being 23 and just starting out. But yeah, talk to me about your experience.
Sure. I think we probably all have very similar stories to a degree. I've been in music 15 years, so I didn't go to college. Not saying that, that was my choice. It's not that, I was a kid who necessarily that's what I wanted to do and couldn't do, but I really hustled my way. I was not a kid who just walked into it because I interned somewhere or I did this. So it was really for me like the ground up. It was like Craigslist, how do I get into music? What is it? Like just studying how people even make money in music. So that to me is like off the jump, very different from, I would say 90% of the people, executives I meet till this day. I think, my way of going through recording studio, because I worked at Record Plant for 4 years when I was very young, really allows me to approach music the way that I only know how to. And that is just really respecting the craft and respecting the hustle of being in there with, the runners and the assistants and the producers, songwriters, artists who do not leave the studio. So I think that I definitely carry a different perspective than a lot of executives. I just was at my company meeting and I think every time the only Black person at a company. I don't know if I've ever had 2 Black folks work at the same company. I guess briefly for a moment with my good friend Robert Wadlington at AAM, but that was short-lived. So for me, it's definitely been from the jump, just I've worked my butt off to get to where I am. No one can claim that they really, were my platform. And no one has really just pulled me up. I've had a lot of great mentors, but I definitely have seen in myself that I have to work 1,000 times as harder, not just being Black, but being a Black woman. You know, I've pitched and placed a million records, you know, to this point. Like, I don't even really count them because of my appreciation for the craft. I really look at it like, well, yeah, we're in music. That's what we're supposed to do. Versus said, you know, white A&R will get an entire JV because they place a record. I'm like, yo, like, what's going on here? So I see it every day, all day, and I am very vocal about it. And at times, I think people think, you know, I'm a little critical or um, give the creatives a little too much leverage, and I don't think I do at all. I think that we are here for them, and being that I live this, I breathe this, these are my friends, this is my culture, this is what I do, you know, I bring a completely different perspective that a lot of the white counterparts takes them very long to even understand me. And I'm like, yo, I'm the PG version. So I see it all the time. You know, I'm like, you can't even handle me and my truth. So it's very difficult. I'm not going to say it's easy at all, or, you know, there's advantages. There's not. You know, the advantage is that you have a soulful ear and come from something of incredible substance that is non-teachable. And I think that is the power that we have and that we got to tap into, that a lot of others don't. You know, some do, but most, it's just different, you know. So it's very difficult, to say the least.
All right. What about yourself, Anthony?
I would say that my experience in the music industry thus far has been complicated. Not necessarily in necessarily a positive or negative light, but it's just been a complicated one. It's very interesting being a person, obviously, of a Black identity in an industry that largely commodifies and profits off of the art and voices of folks who look like me. Well, I'm also like very able to see the folks who are really profiting off of that art and who are sitting at the top. So I would say that that entire experience has been a very sobering one, just because I'm constantly grappling with uh, how much I and my people really matter, when just the structures that I'm working in um, don't quite, I guess, affirm or validate that. And I mean, not to say that it's all negative. I think it is a very interesting time right now. I think I entered the industry at a time when things are changing, in many ways. I feel like diversity in certain spaces, it is being more encouraged and supported and sought after. But with that, we also get interesting things like, I feel like sometimes I walk into a room, and I feel like, folks look at me, to be like the automatic expert on hip hop and rap and all these things that I haven't given you my name yet. And I
Yeah,
think experiences like that are ones that the industry, as they, understand what diversity and inclusion means, they need to figure out what it means to see more in your coworkers and your artists, to look beyond the skin, not in spite of the skin, to see people for who they are, but to look a little bit deeper. So yeah.
definitely, definitely. What about yourself, Dre?
Hey, all right. So I don't know. I feel like my experience has been interesting. Actually, let me turn on the camera.
Do
Ooh,
we get to see the braids?
there we go.
Hey, do we get to see?
Here we go.
Do we get to see?
So, thank you. So I feel like my experience overall has been interesting. I mean, like I work for WIA, like ultimately, which is like primarily white. But however, like I started out in Atlanta, like I would say working in the music industry, and it was a lot of like, like just black people at the studios. So I started like working in at the studio, Patrick Recording Studios, and just like multiple studios around Atlanta. And that in itself was black. It's very concentrated there. Um, but I guess like once I like got to like the major record labels and like realized that like hey, it's not that way all throughout. Um, and it's been just like discouraging, I guess. Like you being not only am I black, but I'm also young. And like when I first started for working at WIA, I was not only like the youngest person on my floor, but like two of the black people, one of two of black people. Um, so it was just like, oh, this sucks. So I guess like for me, like it's always been like trying to do well and like always like hire black, like always try to like help other black interns out, always try to do well in my department and well for myself because if I do well, people, my cousins, my family, more so, can have somebody to look up to that they've seen done it. You have to be an example for other black kids to come across and try to be a role model for them.
All right. No, I definitely understand that. I feel like I have a huge echo going. There we go. I feel like right now with myself, I think I'm the youngest on this panel. I'm not coming for anyone's age, I swear. But like I think I'm the youngest one at 23. My experience has been similar in a sense. In the company I work for now, it's my first time working with majority black people. I work for LVRN, and it's dope to work in an atmosphere where everyone's black and young and trying their best. But when I moved out to LA, the first company I worked for, I was one out of three black people in offices from New York, LA, and Nashville. And I was like, there's only three of us. Like I was like, wow. I was like, I guess I really pushed through. Like I really made quite the effort to get in here. But yeah, I would definitely say the black experience, especially in the music industry, is one where you tend to notice that you're the only one in the room, and then you always think to yourself like, how did I get in this room compared to every other black person who probably like applied for this job or applied for this position, and what makes me kind of, you almost start to think of yourself and you're like, what made me the special one, like what made me the one that like you guys gave the opportunity to, and especially since there's no one else that looks like me. But yeah, so my next question is actually in terms of being an exec and also being an artist. So I was reading an article that was touching on black artists and black execs banding together to kind of form a coalition, you say, in the music industry. But ultimately, when you look at it, artists and execs are on different sides in the negotiating table. So, what do you guys think that looks like for that kind of coalition? Because ultimately, execs and artists, I feel like, yeah, we can always say we're going for the same thing, but like, are we exactly? And what does that look like when you put black on top of that?
That's a really, really good question. Basically trying to explore the relationship between Black execs and Black artists, and I
Mm-hmm.
guess trying to find out what responsibilities might exist in that relationship. Um, I that's very, very interesting, and I don't really know if I have like a great cookie cutter answer, but I would say that the relationship with the Black exec and a Black artist can only truly be enhanced or evolutionized or fostered, nurtured, if the Black execs are also looking out for their Black employees and themselves. Um, because uh, I think that any exec is really apt to look at their artist as their product, as their tangible thing that they are marketing, selling, profiting off of. Sure, um, but if you don't already look inward at your own company and analyze your Black employees and how they're being treated, how they're being voiced or not voiced, the agency that you're giving them, it starts at home in any industry. So yes, I think Black execs do have the capacity to be great champions for their artists who look like them.
Yeah.
By all means. And I do think that they innately should carry that torch of being, the biggest advocates in the building. But just as much so, they should be the biggest advocates for their Black folks who are under them, just like they will be for their Black friends, their Black families. I think that, so much of our industry, especially since George Floyd, has been so superficial. And it's going to continue to be until all execs, Black execs included, reevaluate how they regard the Black people in their own lives.
Like with this whole Blackout Tuesday thing and the industry releasing this statement, like I know a lot of people were on both sides of the fence with that because they felt that that wasn't happening, exactly what you said. You had, for the few that carry the torch, I would say there's this, with any executive, some people are after power, money, success, cred, A&R. Like there's a lot of different angles why we all get in this. And I think there's this expectation with Black executives that because you're a Black executive, that you automatically do look out for your people. And that's not always the case. But that was something that I made sure with, my white-based company, and Becca Tishker is head of that, and she is literally my soul sister. Like this woman is so good to me and has always supported my career since I met her, which was about halfway into it. But it was conversations where they would look to me and be like, what are we doing wrong? And I appreciated that. And I know, like you had said, I always try to sign, like my first signing at AAM was Trey Campbell, a Black gay songwriter who is incredible. And he is not just a Black gay songwriter, he is the best songwriter I've ever met in my life. So it's not, I also want to make sure there's not this misconception that because we're Black executives, we're just taking on Black folks just because. No, they are always, 99% of the ones I meet, more talented, or deserve that position, or deserve that opportunity that everybody else passed by them. So it was Trey Campbell. And then when I went it was my mission to make sure, we're hiring Black. And then it was my friend, Rob Wadlington, who I was like, he needs to get in here. He's lived it. He knows a different kind of hustle. Well, got him over there. And then when I went to Primary Wave, it was looking at Dante Jones of They, and then Toby Lou. I very much do try to pay attention to culture, what I like, what I want to represent as something that I gave an opportunity for. And that's the best artist, period. And luckily I am Black, and I am able to look at Black music and really take it as deep as possible without seeing color. I feel very privileged that I get to listen to Black music, and it's not Black music to me. So I look at it like, I deserve this. I deserve to be here. They deserve to be here. I'm very vocal about it. I have no problem speaking my mind in any of these meetings. So I do feel like me and Trey rocked so hard at AAM. It was like, we're gonna make this shit work. It wasn't an option. And so I do see that, at times I have a different relationship with that Black creative, and it makes for a better success story. It makes for a more creative perspective. I don't allow them to feel like they got to compromise who they are as a creative to be successful. I make sure that they're known that they deserve to be here, and they're incredible, and they're better than, so don't feel less than, because I know you're a better songwriter than that record on the radio. That's just politics. And how are we going to figure out how to get your art heard being authentically you as possible? And once we figure that out, that's when you had the LMA cuts, the Banks cuts, the Her cuts, all that shit that we knew was there. It was not easy to get there, but it was authentic, and we had conviction. And I feel like me as a Black executive, those are the kind of Black artists that that I want to be a part of. I want them to come into this world, not compromising themselves at all. And that's me with artists, no matter what. Obviously one of my artists is white. She's the same though. When you have that conviction and you have that heart and that drive and you know that you deserve that, I'll fight for you all day. So, I look at Tunji and I think it's incredible what he's done. Lucky Day was a songwriter that I had known for years, and I would go tell everyone about Lucky Day, everyone who would listen. And a lot of the Black community did. And they weren't listening to us. Nobody was listening to us. Sam Waters' manager, who's white and just is one of my favorite people, we knew he was incredibly talented, but it took a Black executive to sign him and really give him that platform. And like Tunji, to me, what he's done is absolutely incredible. And I look at him, and I think a lot of us look at him as like, that's inspiration. We're all not perfect, but he is creating space for the Black voice to be heard and be respected and make money, so it's definitely imperative.
I love that answer. I love that fire and passion.
Always.
What about you, Dre? What do you think your answer would be to the question? Oh, you look, wow, I love this look. Wow, I love this.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you, because I want to answer this question like right. So I want to can you repeat it?
Yeah, definitely. I kind of want us to look at the relationship between a Black exec and also a Black artist. And kind of talking about, is it possible for us to form kind of a coalition together? And if it is, what does that look like and what does that entail?
Okay, so as of recently, I started working in litigation just to like learn things about legal. And I was having this like conversation with like some of the lawyers at our company. And like I feel like one thing that really needs to start happening between executives and the artists is like information and informing them on their deals, just like supporting them there, because we see a lot of like Black artists just getting bad deals just because they don't know better.
Yeah.
And it's crazy for us to like know better and like us to not tell them, so like we need to like hold ourselves accountable. We need to be, like informing them on like the mistakes that could be possibly made. On top of like, our litigation department is like starting pro bono work for like, like Black artists or like who just can't really afford the lawyers and stuff to like help them get out their deals. So I think that's really important. And also it's the artist's duty. I always say this, me and Anthony talk about this pretty often, but I feel like out of everybody, artists hold the most power because they're the product. So they make the decisions. If Beyonce wanted to sign at Atlantic and there was no white people at Atlantic, or no Black people, sorry, and like Beyonce was like, I'm not gonna sign here unless y'all get Black people, I bet they're gonna have Black people. I bet they're gonna have Black people. So is the artist's accountability too there, because they need to know to ask for a Black product manager. They need to know to ask for a Black publicist, a Black touring agent and booking agent, because those things are important. And I feel like oftentimes they get upset when something don't really happen the way they want it to happen, but at the same time, you don't have Black people working your music. So what you think gonna happen? So it just needs to be like a level of support between, the artist and the executive. That would be my answer.
I just want to say I agree with you. One thing that I've tried in the 15 years I've been in the industry is always like tell every artist I come by, like, hit me up for questions. I'll give you all my knowledge. I have no problem with that. If you have a question about this contract, I was just on with this kid who's incredible, but he was stuck in a terrible management contract. It wasn't about me managing him. It was just like, how do we get you out? How do we maneuver around this? And, for 2 years, I've been kind of coaching him through different things. And like, I completely agree. It's about the education. Once like you have someone like me who's now been in it 15 years, like use me up. That's kind of what I tell everyone. Like, what do you want to know? I'll get you an answer. How can I help you? You know, how can I protect you? How can I get you the most money and not, you know, Toby Lou almost signed a $5,000 or $10,000 pup deal with it, with Atlantic. You know, I think it was actually APG. And
Oh,
we
I love.
a lot more than that. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
thank God, but he had a really good support system at home. So I completely agree. You know, educating our folks is, you know, half of it for sure.
So something that I think what both of you said actually touches on this a little bit. But so for me personally, a reason I reached out to you guys, namely Sarah and Anthony, and then Anthony, by the grace of God, has connected me with Dre. But I like to consider a lot of my mentors in the music industry to be mostly people who are of color, or like mostly be black people. And I've kind of been blessed that a majority of my mentors have been that throughout. How I met these people, I have no idea. But who would you guys say are probably some mentors of, I'll just say of color, because I know coming by a black mentor sometimes in the music industry can be very difficult. But who are some amazing mentors of color who you guys think have helped you in the industry? Sarah, you can start.
Sure. So obviously I have two major mentors in my life, and that is Ku Carell and Becca Tishker. Becca is an amazing white woman who loves music, and Kook is Kukrell, and he's from Chicago, and he comes from a family line of, you know, musicians. Tricky Stewart, their mothers were jingle writers in Chicago, and then they all moved to Atlanta and then California. So Kook is I'm actually going to have dinner with him tonight, and his daughter Cody. He's literally family to me. Um, I feel so incredibly blessed to be a part of Kook and Tricky's world, and I'll throw Dream in there, during a time when they were at kind of the peak of taking over music and really creating a Black entity that was thriving and killing it and being respected. So from the studio, I went to Kook, and I'm very lucky that that was my trajectory, that I got to walk into that Black excellence. That was something, you know, you never really hear of. It was just unreal. Like, how is this possible? They had a studio house that, you know, we had everyone there, Justin Bieber, Frank Ocean. It was just this beautiful factory of Black talent, killing it. So he is my absolute everything. As a vocal producer, it's a niche job for sure. And he never undervalued himself. He knew he was amazing at it. He knew that he was special at it. Anybody can be a producer, artist, songwriter, vocal producer, but it's, you know, what do you bring to it? And Kook, with his confidence and his conviction and his doing exactly what Dre and, you know, Anthony were saying, as a Black man in the industry, he did not compromise. He surrounded himself with Black folks. He knew his value. And so in turn, that transcended onto me. So now I'm walking around talking to heads of everywhere, you know, being like, he will not go. You better pay him his money. Like, what's happening? You know, so because of Kook and his excellence and his teachings and his appreciation for this and his love for it, and us staying at the studio till 7 a.m., you know, doing what we got to do, really allowed me to have that confidence walking into it from the jump. I don't compromise myself. It doesn't mean you have to agree with me, but, you know, I know that I'm in it for the right reasons, and that was Kook. So I was incredibly blessed to have that man for 4 years, and, you know, get my first credit with him. And he fought for me to have that. You know, he fought for my credit on the Bieber album. He was like, "Yo, Sarah's been doing work back here. Like, y'all better, you know, show her something." So yeah, I was very, very lucky, because he has definitely set the tone for me to carry myself with a lot of confidence and authority, even when people don't think I should. You know, I'm like, no, I deserve to be here. So yeah, Kook for me was really, really the one.
What about yourself, Anthony?
In my specific department field at Atlantic, I was actually the only Black person up until earlier this year, and we hired a Black woman assistant. So I haven't necessarily had anyone necessarily that I'm reporting to directly be sort of like that Black mentor, but I've been able to find support systems elsewhere in the company. I would say probably one of the strongest support figures for me personally is definitely Riggs Morales. He is one of the SVPs of A&R here at Atlantic, based in New York. Before he was at Atlantic, well, first of all, yeah, uh, he's one of the I would say one of the greatest humans I probably ever met and have had the pleasure of working with. He's Afro Latinx. Um, he before Atlantic, he worked on developing Eminem. When he got to Atlantic, he's worked very closely with artists like Wiz Khalifa, OT Genesis, Janelle Monáe, Taylor Parks. But I would say, like, especially in his relationships working with Janelle and Taylor, two queer artists, he's definitely explored an area of music that is racialized, that is gendered, that is intertwined. He's had to learn about and navigate a plethora of human identities to do his job, to support his artists. And I feel like all of those things has, I mean, he was pretty instrumental in like the Hamilton soundtrack when Atlantic did that. Like his projects are very much rooted in what it means to be other in America. And I feel like that's only enhanced his own experiences and his own understanding of who he is, but also what it means to be Black at this company and in this industry. And it's almost to the point where, I don't really necessarily work with him too much on a day-to-day basis, but I'll still come to him if I have a question about, okay, well, what is this policy? Why is this policy here? Or what are these structures that I'm learning about that are in place? Why are these here? What can we do about them? Do we need these? Like literally just like right before this Zoom, like an hour ago, like I was on the phone with him, just like asking him advice and things like that, just because he is just so rooted, yeah, in what being Black in music means, because he's had to be, he's had to find his way here, and more so, he's had to figure out, what it means to be marginalized in a variety of ways, but to also support artists who are marginalized in other ways. So yeah, he's definitely one of the coolest and most influential folks who I've had the pleasure of working with.
What about yourself, Dre?
Um, I would say um, I have three. I've been blessed to have. I would say like a strong three mentors, and it all started with me. Like, so I'll just talk about the story how I met all three of them, kind of like leading to each other. So I've always known at like a very young age that I wanted to work at Atlantic Records. So I like set my eyes on that, and I didn't even know why. It was just like that's the only record label I knew that existed in my head. At like, I was like, oh, Atlantic, yeah. So I like started working towards that goal, and like I realized that like there was somebody that lived in Atlanta that worked at Atlantic, and so I started following her. Her name is Candy Kent, by the way. So I started following her, and I saw that she was like talking on this panel at Clark Atlanta University. And I went to Georgia State, and it was only for Clark Atlanta students. So I had to like get my friend to like let me into the panel just so I can like, possibly meet her. And then I ended up like meeting her. I think she had some like question. And she was like, whoever answered this question right can like work this Trey Songz event like with me. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna answer this right. So I answered it right, and like she let me allow me to like work the event with her, and we just like instantly like became friends and just like having like a mentor and mentee relationship. She asked me what I wanted to do. I told her I wanted to work at Atlantic Records. So she was like, okay, cool. They're like interviewing up there at this date. So then I like flew to Atlanta, to New York to like interview at Atlantic Records, and there was like this like intern fair where they like interview a whole bunch of like interns. So I got to like interview with this guy named Jameson Antoine, and like we interviewed and we just like hit it off and just had like the best kind of like relationship um, at that time. And after that, I went upstairs to go meet somebody on Canon's team named Sam Crespo, and we talked, and him and Canon was like, "We love you both, and we want you on the radio promotion team." And I just started like working on the radio promotion team. Didn't go to like intern for Jameson. I was like, nah, I'm good. I want to be at Atlantic. And he was with Warner Music Group. So I was like, I'm just going to do the Atlantic route. And I did the Atlantic route, and like Sam and Cannon, they just always been like so kind and just so like humble and just so down to earth. And just always great resources and just really great people. And one thing I just learned from them, I would say like from them too, is just always before doing business with anybody, always ask them like how they're doing, you know? Like I've seen them like on so many calls, and like they always like ask these people how they're doing. And like Sam made it a thing to know about these people's family, like he knew their kids' names, like what their kids likes. And I take that with me as I do business and as I grow. So yeah.
That's actually really so I wanted to ask everyone what like their mentors are in the industry, because I think it's a really good thing for us to kind of acknowledge, yes, I busted my ass to get to where I am, and I worked hard to get myself to where I am, but like there are those few people who really like helped push me through or be like some kind of support system for me. Because let's be real, the music industry is rough out here. I'm anxious all the time. So like there's always something going on that's like causing me to freak out and try not to spiral. And there's like those few good people who I can reach out to like help me get back on track. I know for myself personally, so the first job I had when I moved out here was being an assistant at Scooter Brown Projects. And I had two amazing women interns, Ariel Caputo and Jennifer Jang. And Ariel's a white Italian woman, but she was dope. She was amazing. She kind of like helps me build this kind of exterior of, yes, you're good at what you do, but like you have to go into everything knowing what you're worth and like knowing what you bring to the table. And then Jennifer, she's one of the artist managers at Scooter Brown Projects. She kind of helped me understand, yes, you're passionate about this industry and you want to go far in this industry, but like don't let your self-care or mental health dwindle down because you're trying to do so much at one time just to like get your name or get your foot in the door. And like I text JJ all the time to be like, "Hey, girl, freaking out a little bit. Could we possibly jump on a call if you're free? Just need to like get brought down a little." So I think it's always great to just highlight those people who kind of helped push us through. Another great mentor for me is Rob Augustine, who was supposed to get on the call, but he had a very important thing with one of his artists that he had to attend. He's an artist manager out here and he owns his own company called RMA. But I cold emailed Rob when I moved out to LA and I was like, I love the artists you work with. I just would really love to meet you. And since I've been out here for a year, he's like the go-to guy when it's like, Rob, I really need help with this. Or like, Rob, do you possibly know someone in this sector who I can get connected with? Rob is actually kind of how I met Sarah. Funny enough, Rob connected me with someone who knew Sarah. That person connected me with Sarah, and now Sarah's here, and I'm here as well. So it's always awesome to just highlight those people and give them their flowers while we can all still smell them. But I have one more question. This will be the last question, and then we're all good to go. But what do you guys believe the next steps could be to fight for some sense of some sense of equality in the music industry for Black people who the music industry mostly monetizes off of us? But like, what do you guys think that looks like? Because I think we see the music industry doing these forms of kind of looking good for the gram. Like you'll do the Blackout Tuesday. You'll say, I'm in support of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protests. But then you look at a lot of boards and you look at a lot of employee rosters, and it's like nothing's matching up with what you're saying. But I also haven't seen anyone who is saying this is what we should do to make equality a thing in this industry. So I'm curious with what you guys think some next steps could be to fight for equality. Sarah, would
Um,
you like to go first? Or Dre, did you want to go first?
yeah, I'll go first because I've
Oh,
been
go
going
ahead.
last this whole time. um, I was gonna say, one, it would be so cool if like we just leave and then just start our own stuff because we definitely can do it. I'm like, we definitely have enough hard workers in there to actually make some stuff shake. But anyways, I feel like the next step would be, I don't even know. I mean, like, because we can always, like, bring more people in, and that's always going to be the next thing. But at the end of the day, we still don't own the company. So it's like we can do as much as we can do, but at least for these major companies, like, like, we still don't own the company. So I guess it would just be smart. The next thing would just be hiring, bringing more black people in, getting them in, and then making everything better. Like maybe, I was thinking about a student loan forgiveness program. I feel like that would be so good. There's so many companies that have that, and I just feel like being that, like black people don't have the same, playing field. We already more than likely gonna just have to have collect so much debt just to like arrive here. So if there's a way that we can like ease that for like minorities or just people in general, that would be good. And on top of that, like paying for education, like paying to educate our people and like having these companies, like pay for us to maybe get a master's, like further our education and further educate ourselves. Um, I feel like that would be good.
Sarah, Anthony, which one of you wants to go first? Or second? Sarah, go ahead.
Um, I totally agree. Me and Kook often have these philosophical conversations on why don't we create something that's not called the music industry? Why don't we, do like we have these thoughts of the no, I don't want to say it's the only way, but it might be the only way that we really see, like he said, the playing field even out. We came into something, that we were talking about it today, how basically Clear Channel and these different companies, they run everything, and at the top of the top it's going to be white across the board. So I agree with like the notion of creating companies where we are on the top of the board. Like this table is black folks and then it's whoever else. And it doesn't need to be just black folks. It needs to be just like-minded individuals who are very vocal about what they represent and what they do not want from their employees, from their artists, and things of that nature. I also wanted to touch base on at the end of the last conversation, and this probably transpires into this, like, I'm older. So I guess when I think of mentor, I think of like the couple that really were with me, like I rocked with for a minute. But at this point in my life, I'm a group text with, I'm sure you guys are too, with my black friends in the industry constantly. And we're talking about music. We're talking about WAP. We're talking about, the injustice, the this, the that, the boardrooms, everything constantly. So I have to pay homage to friends that actually will engage in that conversation and not feel compromised on, well, I got to play the game. Like at times, I'm sure a few of us were like that, but it's gotten to a point now where like, we got to break the game. We cannot play this. It's not our game. It's not what we created. So I've definitely been reaching out to Black executives, trying to find ways to collaborate, trying to make sure that I'm sending out music by Black artists constantly. I'm checking up on their stuff because I know nobody else is, even though they're signed to a major company. I signed them and they got a lot of money, but nobody's checking for them the way they're checking for everyone else. So now I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, I make it known every time we're sitting in a room. I make it known that's inappropriate. Why are we not paying attention here? So I do, I'm trying to do my part in making sure that when I leave this world, this entertainment industry, that I made a better pathway for people of color, period, women, LGBTQ, like all of it, because it's, when you are Black, when you are a woman, when you are mixed, you really don't see it. You really are like, talent is talent. I'm sorry, I don't care if you're white, brown, whatever, you're not talented. My opinion, but that's real. Like, I have a lot of gay friends, my best friends, who are so talented, and it's harder for them. It's harder for anyone who does not fit in this box. So why are we trying to play this game? It's crazy. It almost is psycho to me. It's like it's a psychosis for us. So I was just on a panel yesterday for, my boyfriend is a dancer in Poland, and it was about Black culture and music. And obviously, the Polish country has different views about racism because it's not American racism. It's very different. It's more of a classism based traditionally. Obviously, darker skin across the board always was treated disrespectfully, but it's a very different thing for them to understand. So my part was, how can I educate them on racism in America, and how people, Black folks, music came from them, singing hymns during working the cotton fields. Like, they have to know this information of the history of America to really understand Black music, Black popular music, music in general, because we were the base of every genre. So my job was, I have like 4 pages educating them on how we got the Harlem Renaissance, the Dapper Dance, like how we got to where we are today. So to me, it's that first. I wear my Blackness because I don't want people to see me as just Black. I wear it as, this is who I am. I'm not gonna hide it anymore. I'm not gonna let this get dismissed. I'm not gonna allow you to make this racial prejudice comment and just, feel uncomfortable, which I've been made to feel many a times. I'm gonna say that is so inappropriate. I don't care if there's 5 people, white people on a Zoom. I do not care. That is not okay. And if we are a creative base, us as executives, our job is to allow music to be heard. So why is all this other shit going on? So I'm really good at like calling it out, and also maintaining respect for the creative community. And I think like the more we speak about it, the more we're all in these group texts calling it out, talking about it within our own world. That to me is the base of the change, and then now we have 4 of us. Now when 4 of us at different companies, even though we're the one Black person, now we're in the same room at this table full of other white, we all might be on the same page, and they might understand what we're saying a bit better because we're all aligned. So it's really creating power within your community, your small community that can permeate out,
That was such a great answer. Oh my God.
I'm glad this is recorded because yes.
That was it. That was the one.
Anthony, do you want to follow that up?
I don't, but I will. So here I go. Yeah, that was dope. Those were both great answers. And I think I'm gonna answer that by changing the question a little bit to how we focus on equality versus, and more so how we focus on equity. Because I think to make big changes, we have to make small, minuscule changes at home. And I feel like a huge part of that is understanding that the music industry is just a microcosm of the real world, of the greater society. And we try to think, music industry is special because there's really nothing quite like it. And sure, it's a very special and unique industry, but with that, when you bring humans into the space, you immediately bring in their identities, and their identities are informed by society. So yeah, the industry is just a microcosm of society. And with that, if we want to make real tangible, lasting change, we have to do deeper work to humanize our Black brothers, sisters, and siblings, our Black artists, our Black employees. We have to actually dig deeper and realize that they don't need equality, they need equity. Um, our Black personnel in this industry don't need to be treated exactly the same as your favorite white signing or your favorite white pop star or songwriter. They need to be treated, and given what they deserve. Um, when I mean that by, if you understand what they've gone through, the experiences and the walls that have been put in front of them that haven't been put in front of their non-Black counterparts, then you will see that they are in need of something very, very different than your Taylor Swifts, Ed Sheeran's, et cetera, et cetera. I'll give an example. Saying that you're going to sign 2 more Black artists, that doesn't humanize Black people. That makes a space for a couple. But what interior work have you done to further understand the Black communities, to further understand the history of Black music, the history of Black artists doing non-traditional Black music? If we want to talk about it, we can talk about artists like Lil Nas and Tyler the Creator and Lizzo and Janelle Monáe. Artists who are Black, but whose artistry very much exists in different places they're allowed to go, but places that society and the music industry is not at fault for this, being boxed in. Like we have amazing Black artists right now who are doing things in the world of country, in the world of just straight pop, and yet their singles are going to Urban AC, and I'm like, well, why are we automatically looking at their skin color and allowing that to be the box that we put their entire artistry inside? That's not humanizing them. That's doing, I think, the opposite of that. And until we're able to do that deeper work and to understand what equity means, everything else is going to be very, very thin and superficial. Another example, we have so many white superstars who are doing very much similar things. But why is it that our Black women artists are pitted against each other so much and so brutally? Sarah, I'm glad you brought up WAP, because I feel like that was a really, really exciting and proud moment for us here at Atlantic and 300, because it was just so cathartic and inspiring seeing 2 dope ass Black women side by side and being bosses and having full agency over who they are, what their bodies are, how they engage with men. Like, I feel like that was honestly a huge moment of pride, because it was just so against the rubric of our industry. And because they could have given in to what they think the industry wants of them, or what they think audiences want of them, which is, we need to have one it girl, one Black woman who can rap. We need to have, but we don't. I think that white artists have been humanized enough to be given space to be everything and the same thing all at once, and they're all going to have great careers. And we have yet, or at least we are starting to, get over that hurdle when it comes to our Black creators. Because they should be given as much room to breathe and express themselves and support each other as anyone else. So all that being said, Angela Davis talks a lot about if you want to liberate society, you have to start by liberating minds. And if you want to have that blackout, stops, and I'm serious, like if you want to have like that blackout, show must be stopped moment, but you're not doing anything to think critically of how you see the world and other people who are like you or different than you, then your next, Instagram post on that next Juneteenth occasion isn't going to mean a thing. You'll get your likes, but it's not going to go much farther than that. So yeah, I think equity is the goal.
So I actually have one more thing because I think this could be very beneficial for a lot of people who I think would probably want to watch this video. As a Black person in the music industry, I think we can all attest in saying that like the music industry overall is just kind of very difficult to get your foot in the door. But then once you add like multiple intersections of your being, so like me personally, it's like not only am I Black and a man, I'm also LGBT. And like you just add multiple intersections, it makes it even harder for you to get your foot into the door. Huh?
You're also very tall.
Yeah, and people find me intimidating as hell. So like what there's like a multiple intersections and then like people meet me and they're like, "Oh my God, what you're nice." And I'm like, "I swear I'm an okay human being." But no, there's so much that goes into getting into the music industry, and I think the four of us are blessed to be in positions where we can, I think, almost offer some advice to like those other Black kids or those other Black students who also want to get into the industry. So do you guys have any words of wisdom that you'd like to give those kids? Sarah or Anthony or Dre, who'd like to go first?
Um, I would say like be smart, be strategic about what you do. Like all, I feel like how I just moved throughout my whole career is just very like strategic wise. Like every panel I'm on, every panel I go to, like these virtual panels that be happening, like I make it a thing to like email people after and be like, oh my God, like you were great on the panel. I've learned X, Y, and Z from you. But like that goes so far. So like, like just thinking outside the box. Like when I was like trying to get an internship, I ended up turning my resume into a song. Like I A&R, like I got one of my friends that was like a songwriter and one of my friends that was like a artist. I like put them together and like got a beat together and have them like make my resume into a song. So it's just like kind of just like always like being strategic about trying to like everything you do, like trying to be smart about it and like separate it from everybody else and like how you can keep that going. Like Beyonce is my inspiration because Beyonce kills it. She's at the top of her game. Like she is the best at what she does because she works really hard and she's very strategic about her career. So follow Beyonce. That would be my advice.
I also say follow Beyonce. Sarah, Anthony, which one of you would like to go next? Anthony. Boom.
All right, cool. I think we're in a very, very interesting time because COVID is really affecting the ways that people network and the ways that people are able to grow and advance their careers and meet people, find mentors, et cetera, et cetera. I still don't know if I really have like an answer on how to get your foot in the door in our current climate. I feel like we're all just kind of figuring it out. But what I will say, and I think this is probably mostly true for any climate, whether we're in a pandemic or not, um, please do not compromise yourself um, in any which way. I would say that if you look at a lot of the execs in this industry, or not, who have, done really remarkable things in this industry, or not, or have been around for a while, or not. I would say those who remain here are those who, at some point, realized that their identity and their tastes and their ideas and their musical intuitions were true to them, and that these intuitions are only going to follow you and support you throughout your entire career. The industry is going to change. It's already changing. It's changing a lot, and it's changing not at all right now. But uh, with all that being said, you shouldn't necessarily find it within you to drastically change yourself or to become this hyper chameleon. There will be a place for you in this industry, as long as you continue to just fortify yourself with who you are. If you do walk into a label that's predominantly white, but you begin an opportunity to be there, great. Don't necessarily feel like you have to, hyper, intensify your blackness. Your blackness is right there with you. It's always going to be. And also don't feel like you need to diminish it either. That you need to subscribe to some sort of idea of whiteness in the workplace or whiteness in the industry. You are actually allowed to just let your blackness exist, and it will do what it needs to do, whether you want it or not. So you might as well not stress yourself out by trying to subscribe to a different version of yourself, and just allow or demand that the industry accept you for who you are.
Amen.
Sarah, I'm so excited to hear what you have to say.
I just love that we're all on the same page, because I was going to say exactly that about being authentically you as possible. COVID, all the circumstances surrounding the industry at the moment is, incredibly different and out of whack in some sorts. But like you said, it is changing, and there are opportunities for you to own your own music and create your own company and create platforms for others. Like, there's a lot of opportunity if you just kind of look into it. But I've been a manager at this point for, 10 years of my life. And I was just with my artist today, and I was on one with Australia, who just calls me for advice about his career. And, and then I was on with another artist. Every day I'm talking to about anywhere from 1 to 5 artists, producers, writers, etc. And to me, the most common thread that I just repeat and try to ingrain in them is exactly that. Stay true, stay authentic to who you are, no matter your race, creed, color, anything. Because if you have success and you've compromised yourself, it will mean nothing to you. And at some point, you will break. At some point, this industry will destroy you. You will get sad and you will go home. I've seen it happen multiple times. The ones that I've seen, and I think somebody else said this, I think it was you, Anthony, who are successful at the end, have defined, redefined, found this like diamond in a rough within inside themselves that attracts people just from existing. And those are the artists, again, I look for, and the ones I want to. Not everyone is a superstar. And it doesn't matter if you're black, white, this does not mean you're a superstar. They've conditioned us to think that you can create it, that it can be manipulated. And everybody who's been created, they've always been found out. They've always been, somebody discovers it wasn't true. And you could tell by maybe their later life, or maybe Milli Vanilli type, or whatever it was. It's always, the truth always comes to light. So what I would say to those kids is make sure that during pandemic, during your downtime, you are figuring out what you want to represent. And that could be a WAP, it could be a Taylor, it could be a Kendrick, it could be any one of those things. But people will only believe how convicted you are about yourself. And that is just in life in general. If you're at a table with friends that this one's talking too much, they're being annoying, well, they're compensating. It's really like, my job was to analyze a room when Rihanna or J-Lo or Justin was there, and who was talking the most, and who didn't give space for the creative to be who they are. And so I really can analyze character very quickly. And so when I meet a songwriter or producer and they sit down and they're telling me, well, I want to see Selena Gomez cut. Well, I want to be like Katy Perry. I'm sorry, why are we talking about other people? Like, who are you? It is the number one thing that shuts me down almost immediately. Now, some are young, and some of those kids, I understand that's who they reference in trying to compare, but we need to stop comparing ourselves. We need to stop relying on others to create our sound, to represent who we are. Like, be authentically you as possible. Ask for people's opinions, listen, and work your ass off. It's most successful. Madonna, Michael Jackson, Mariah, Janet, Beyonce, what do they have in common? It's their work ethic. You know, and a big thing I've been saying to people at this point with DSPs and the way the music is, it's probability factor too. You know, you creating more material, refining what you are and what you represent and your sound, and releasing songs, at some point somebody's going to hear you. You know, it may not be tomorrow, but 2 years from now, one of those will pick up, you know. And a lot of the people I've worked with, I've been lucky enough to see their work ethic, like a Toby who was 10 years, or a Trey who was just had his head down and didn't have success till his late 20s. You know, he was just working his butt off. But what they were able to do was come out and be authentically them and be unapologetic and not compromise a thing. It was really hard. And, you know, that route is often the harder route. But I think a true creative, a true lover of this industry, of this culture, that's what we all want to be a part of. That's what we're all fighting to get back out there, are those pop stars that do represent that it factor, because they are the only ones who could do that. You know, that's what I don't listen to music to hear something that, oh, I think I can sing that. I'm sorry, what? No, I'm not a singer. I listen to it to have fun, escape, try to sound like that, try to dance like that. You know, that's not my calling. So that's who I look for in artistry, you know. Is so take criticism, analyze it, see if you are that star, and if you are, like, be convicted and just go straight forward. Don't let nobody tell you nothing. I often say also, my last thing is about release. You know, a lot of people will be like, well, we're going to sign you, but it's going to take a little bit of time, or maybe they fall off. An A&R will sign you if they want to sign you. You know, do not get fooled by all of these meetings that happen. If they want you, they want you. So make sure that you understand, like, this is my ship and I got to keep it pushing forward no matter who gets on my ship or not. Like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to release here. I'm not waiting for this. If they come on board and support me and give me money, that's amazing. But that's the partner you want, right? You want that person who believes in you, like, I am convicted with everything I sign. There's not a doubt in my mind about any of it. But that's because I value real talent. So when we're at that execution of paper, I'm like, oh, this, like you are exactly who you need to be. You know, and a lot of people don't sign that way. You know, with Toby, he has a hard time because he doesn't, he does his own thing. He doesn't collaborate with anyone he doesn't want to. He doesn't do features unless it's strategic and makes sense for him. He is very in control of his product. And so at times, you know, people get a little frustrated that he's not collaborating with this cool, hot producer that, you know, has cuts over here. He does not care. And it's shown that his art is exactly who he is. You know, he's a cult classic. Like, kids are getting tattoos of him. His merch sells like crazy. Like, Chance, all of these people are Kanye. Wild as things may be, he is authentically Kanye. And, you know, there's a mad level of respect for that kind of talent, you know. Taylor, not for me at all, ever in my life. I have respect for it. That is her. That's what she does. That's her lane. Like, what is your lane? Figure it out and just go hard, you know?
I would say, to that point, I feel like, you know, it's kind of, at least for me, like, being yourself and like being Black is kind of like difficult. I just know, like, the way I just felt like my mind was conditioned, you know, to like my mom, like, I can just, like, my mom wanted me to go to a school with white people, like, not just like a school with all Black people, because that will, like, you know, give me that like experience and know how to like carry myself. And then after I graduated high school, she didn't allow me to go to like a HBCU because she felt like she wanted me to go to like a school where, you know, there were going to be white people. So I know how to like carry myself, know how to talk, and know how to deal with the real world. And I just feel like things like that, like putting stuff like that on kids and putting stuff like that just on, Black people, it just kind of like dims their light down. So it doesn't make you want to fully be yourself because you think you're going to be judged, or you think you have to be this, you think you have to be that. So I feel like just now, like at age 24, I'm like just now learning, like be yourself, be authentic to you. And I feel like a lot of that came with my boss, like my boss who's also white. But um, when I first started my job, like we had this conversation, which was like super dope. He was just like, you're Black and like I'm white, and I want you to be yourself, like I want you to say whatever you want to say. It was like, I hired you to just be you. And like having that support system, which I felt like I didn't really have before, just kind of like allowed me to like be myself and be authentic to myself. So it's kind of like it's interesting because I just feel like Black people are just conditioned to think differently a lot of times because of the spaces that they have to be in. So you don't really feel too comfortable to be yourself.
I totally agree. And I guess I'd like to elaborate on that. And I think it is, especially for Black kids and Black folks, like try to take in your surroundings and make sure you are aware of the people in your life, and not saying like in your case, you're saying your mom wanted you, it's, of course, it goes very deep for all of us and our family dynamic. So aside of family dynamic, I mean, if you don't have that support, try to seek like-minded individuals. At this point, I think some of you had said, like, you can reach out to pretty much all of us through Instagram or whatever, seek Black folks, look at their career. I know a lot of kids that, made their way into the industry because of that. They, like you said, you're like, I think it was Dre who said you wanted to work at Atlantic from the beginning. Find people in these places that you want to be a part of, and try to identify, are they good people? Will they support me? Do they get it? Do they understand? Because I think you're absolutely right. A big part of it is your support system and who's around you and who's being authentic, who isn't trying to step on you to get to where they're going. I've had that happen to me a lot. At this point, I'm surrounded by creatives and it's a part of their nature often. And I've accepted my wins and my fails, but I do think you're very right in that sense. The Black folk has definitely a different dynamic working to finding out who we are. It's a different road for us than these kids who are shown that they could be anything under the sun, no matter what, a president, a doctor, a this, a that. We didn't have all that. So I totally agree with you, but I'm just putting out there, I am very much that person that will take that call from that young kid who needs help, who needs guidance. If your song sucks, I'll tell you it sucks, but I'll get on the phone and I'll be like, this is how you get better, and I know a few people, Black people in the industry who are like that. So I totally agree. It definitely is about being surrounded by people who lift you up and not tear you down, to who give you space to figure out who you are.
I would say, to go off of all of you, I think we're all pushing very much be authentically you. I would also say, one, don't be afraid to reach out, but also go into conversations not with the thought of what can this person do for me, but more so just kind of like a thought of, I'm just going to meet someone and we're just going to see what happens. I feel like I am the cold emailer. I will cold email the house down if I can like just get in contact with somebody. And a majority of the time, I haven't gotten anything out of it, but just a great friend and just someone like to just have within the industry. I would also say you have to start adopting this mindset of, if it's for you, you're gonna get it no matter what. And if it's not for you, it's never gonna come your way. Meaning, yes, that might be an amazing job that you applied for and interviewed for and you didn't get it, but guess what, baby? That just wasn't meant for you. but the thing that is meant for you is going to be on its way soon. And it's going to be so much greater than you thought it was. And then I would also say, be know your worth, but also be willing to expand on that. I would say Sarah actually really pushes me to expand on the things that I don't think I can do. And Sarah's just kind of like, we're gonna try it. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, all right, sweet. Yeah, let's go for it then. And that opens so many doors and so many opportunities and like allows you to meet so many people. And yeah, just be open to expanding yourself and your worth and what you can do and learning all these new skills and ways of going about the industry. But yeah, I think that's all of our like wisdom to say.
Can I say one last thing? Just, obviously I'm 36 and I'm still figuring out who is authentically me. I think I'm pretty close, but we're all still learning constantly. But you had mentioned like when you're meeting somebody, I think it's super important, no matter your age, to try to start with your intention for yourself, and not in a selfish way, but how do I want to come across to this person? Do I want to try to angle them to get something, like you said, or do I just want to be able to have space to be me and then entertain opportunities beyond that? So I think that it's, I guess, putting your first foot forward with your intention, for yourself. And I think it's okay to put your intention first, as long as it's good natured. And things will come to you when you're good natured. I think there's confusion between like confidence and intention and arrogance and all these things. It's like, no, if you want good for yourself in a humble, kind way, like most people are willing to open that door for you. And so as long as like you're approaching it with like, you know what, maybe I don't know this, but I'm willing to learn. Like, I mean, I'll take on any kid like that. I'm like, yeah, let's go. What are you going to do today? Let's try this. Let's do that. So no, I agree about like, your first meeting with people, it's very important. Very important.
But yeah, I wanna first and foremost thank you guys so much for agreeing to do this. This is like my first time hosting this kind of panel. I really thought it would be a great conversation to have and thought it was something that needed to be had in a way a little different from what I've seen before. Um, and I hope I pushed that across. I hope you guys had a great time. I hope you guys had fun and enjoyed the combo. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. This is the end of the panel.
And thank
Okay.
you for doing that. You're making a step in the right direction. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I love meeting new people, so this was great. Nice to meet everyone, Sarah and Devon. My first time meeting you.
You as well. Email, right?
Yeah, I
That's
can
all.
send across emails, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to just stay in touch and, send music and get opinions about WAP and all that good stuff.
And I'm gonna give you an opinion for sure. I'll
Okay.
always give you my honest opinion.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Thank you guys.
Awesome. Thanks guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.